Hey folks, this is Jim Bovard. I've got a story in today's New York Post on how Joe Biden went to Westchester County to raise $10 million yesterday. Much of the county was shut down. In the town of Irvington, schools were closed 7 hours before Biden arrived. Roads were closed. There was a lot of disruption there. And it brought back memories because back in 2003, I went to Irvington to give a speech and it was shut down then too. I was riding on the Metro North line coming up the Hudson River Valley out of Grand Central Station on August 14th, 2003. Somewhere past Yonkers, the train suddenly came to a dead stop and everything went silent. Some of the passengers thought that there had been a terrorist attack. I shrugged. I said, nah, it's probably a government screw up. I was right. After it became clear the power would not be resuming, police allowed passengers to finally exit the train. I walked along the tracks wearing my railroad engineer cap and singing a 1920s Jimmy Rogers song about standing on a train platform and smoking a cheap cigar. My then wife had been hounding me to get a preppy little suitcase with wheels to use for this kind of overnight trip. Luckily, I had my overnight bag slung over my shoulder instead, since dragging wheeled luggage along thousands of railroad ties would have ended badly. After a couple miles, I reached a train station that was almost deserted due to the power outage. There was a chauffeur just kind of loitering around and looking at passing by people furtively, and so I chatted him up, and he wasn't allowed to take paying customers, so I paid him a little bit extra to salve his conscience. And I was pretty soon on the road to Irvington. Just in time for my speech, I came walking up the long driveway at the Foundation for Economic Education, and I was smoking a cheap cigar. Conference organizers were shocked to see me as if I were a ghost. They assumed I'd vanished hours ago beneath the subway tunnels of Manhattan. But there was no act of God provision in the verbal contract for that speech, so I damn well better show up to get paid. I hustled to give the speech to a big student audience on the lawn there at the foundation before darkness descended. And that was what spurred the biggest mystery of the day. St. Martin's Press had just published a book I did called Terrorism and Tyranny, beating up on George Bush's War on Terror. As I tossed a few jibes on Bush, a black helicopter came up over the horizon and lingered a little too long. Actually, it was probably good the speech was in New York because if I'd been speaking in Idaho, I don't know how the audience would have reacted to that helicopter. A lot of good folks there that day. There was Sheldon Richman, the editor of the Freeman, the magazine, the great magazine the foundation put out. There was Richard Ebling, the president of the foundation. Beth Hoffman was there, and she afterwards told people that Jim Bovard had walked 5 miles to get here for this speech. And I was polite, so I didn't correct the exaggeration. But anyhow, hopefully Irvington does not get hit by any more power outages or presidential fundraising visits.